Welcome back. Today we are talking about how to argue without trying to win, because if your fight ends with one person technically right and both people emotionally annoyed, nobody won. You just created a courtroom drama in your kitchen, and the dishwasher is now a silent witness. First, we will look at why being right can feel amazing for 8 seconds and still make the relationship colder for 8 days. Second, we will identify what is usually hiding underneath the actual words, because the fight about dishes is almost never only about dishes. Humanity continues to be very inconvenient, and for relief. Third, we will separate the person from the problem, so the argument stops becoming two exhausted lawyers cross-examining each other over socks, timing, and tone. Fourth, we will use simple phrases that slow the fight down before someone says the permanent sentence that later needs a formal apology and maybe snacks. And fifth, we will close with a repair method that helps both people leave with one clear next step instead of pretending the argument never happened. Trying to win an argument feels tempting because it gives your nervous system a tiny victory snack. Imagine a partner changes dinner plans at the last minute. The other person has already started cooking, and now 2 plates sit on the counter while the room goes silent. If the whole conversation becomes proving who is technically right, the real evening is already lost. When the goal becomes winning, the other person usually stops listening and starts defending. And honestly, that makes sense. If someone feels attacked, they are not thinking, "Wow, what a beautifully structured argument." They are thinking, how do I survive this emotional PowerPoint without becoming slide 14? The better goal is not to win. The better goal is to understand what happened, what hurt, what needs to change, and how both people can move forward without keeping secret score like it is a toxic loyalty program. Most arguments start with a surface issue. Someone was late, someone forgot to text, someone changed plans after dinner was already on the stove. But underneath that surface issue, there is usually a deeper question. Do you respect my time? Do you notice my effort? Can I trust you to care? Arguments get messy because we do not only react to what happened, we react to the story we attach to what happened. You were late becomes I am not important. You forgot becomes I always carry everything. And now the original issue has been replaced by a dramatic emotional documentary with suspicious background music. So before arguing harder, ask yourself, what is this really touching in me? Is it disrespect, loneliness, embarrassment, fear, exhaustion, feeling invisible? That one question can save you from spending 20 minutes debating the wrong villain. If this already reminds you of one argument pattern in your life, use the next line carefully. Not with the energy of "see, I was right," because congratulations, that would miss the point at Olympic speed. Use it as, I think this could help us argue better. And if you want more practical relationship tools without fake perfect advice, subscribe. A healthier argument starts when both people stop standing on opposite sides and start looking at the same problem. Instead of "you never listen," try "we keep missing each other when plans change." It sounds less dramatic, yes. It also has the tiny advantage of not making the other person immediately hire a defense attorney. Here is the repeatable pattern sentence. When this happens, I feel this, and I need us to try this instead. For example, when plans change after I have already started dinner, I feel ignored, and I need us to communicate earlier. Notice the trick. No character assassination, no ancient history, no documentary series called "Every Mistake You Have Ever Made." One of the fastest ways to lose the plot is to bring in old fights. Suddenly the discussion about tonight becomes a museum tour of every unresolved issue since 2019. If it matters, write it down and discuss it separately, but do not throw the entire relationship archive into one argument and then act surprised when it explodes. When the argument gets hot, the first job is not solving. The first job is slowing. Because when both people are triggered, the brain becomes a very confident intern with no qualifications. It sends emails in all caps and calls it strategy. Try phrases like, "I want to understand you, not beat you." Or, "I am getting defensive, but I do care." Or, "Can we slow down before we make this worse?" These sentences are relationship seatbelts. Not glamorous, very useful, and suddenly important when the emotional car starts skidding. If you need a break, do not just vanish emotionally and call it maturity. Say, I need 20 minutes to calm down, and I will come back to this before we decide what to do about dinner. The second part matters. Without it, a timeout can feel like abandonment wearing a productivity jacket. Before you defend your side one more time, summarize theirs. Say, what I hear is that you felt dismissed when I changed the plan after you had already started dinner. This does not mean you agree with everything. It means you are proving you heard them. And yes, this is harder than winning, which is why it actually works. Then own your part clearly. Not with a fake apology like, I am sorry you feel that way, which is basically an apology wearing sunglasses and refusing to identify itself. Try, I see how my tone made this worse, or I should have told you earlier. Small ownership creates a big opening. Finally, end with one next step. Not a 10-point reform plan for becoming perfect humans by Monday. Just one agreement. Text earlier, pause before sarcasm, check plans the night before, or return after a break. Repair is not pretending nothing happened. Repair is turning the argument into a small upgrade. So here is the payoff. Arguing without trying to win does not mean becoming passive. It means changing the goal, win less, understand more, name the real issue, fight the pattern, not the person. Slow down when things get hot, summarize before defending, repair with one clear next step. That is how an argument becomes useful instead of emotionally expensive. Try this in your next difficult conversation. Before making your strongest point, summarize the other person's point so well they feel understood. Then ask, what is one thing we can do differently next time? It may feel unnatural at first, like using a gym machine backwards, but it changes the whole tone. If this helped, like the video, subscribe and share it with someone who wants fewer exhausting arguments and more actual peace. Thanks for watching. Remember, the goal is not to win the argument. The goal is to protect the connection while solving the problem, which is annoying, mature, and unfortunately very effective.